What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the group chat. Today we kick off a new series, The Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Warzone. This is going to be a multi-part series intended for people brand new to the game. So whether you've just downloaded it or you're interested in finding more out about it, we've got you covered. If this video helps you, leave a like and subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you don't miss the rest of the series. Lastly, I'm going to leave timestamps in the description below for the various topics so you can quickly navigate to the areas of the video that are most relevant to you. And with that, let's get into it. Warzone is a battle royale first-person shooter, where 150 people drop into an oversized map with nothing but a pistol, and the last one standing is declared the winner. The objective of the game is therefore to outlast your opponents and emerge victorious. Along the way, you'll collect better guns, perks, and equipment to help you achieve this, but so will your opponents. To keep everything moving, the game designates an ever-decreasing safe zone to funnel players into conflict. When the timer turns red, it means the deadly gas is moving in, and you need to make your way into the safe zone. Failure to do so, and you'll eventually perish in the gas. But before you even think about dropping in, it's important to set yourself up for success. We're going to talk now about optimizing your settings to give yourself the best chance out there on the virtual battlefield. Okay, so on to settings. I'm going to change from default to my real-time settings now and walk you through the logic. The first change we're going to make is flipping your L2 and L1 buttons and your R2 and R1 buttons so that you're aiming and shooting with L1 and R1. These buttons have a lower response time than your L2 and R2 buttons, meaning you're able to aim down sights and shoot a fraction of a second faster than normal. In a Twitch shooter like COD, a fraction of a second is a big advantage, so this is a pretty important but underrated setting. As you can see, I play on default, but you can also play on tactical. The only difference between the two is that your melee and crouch buttons are switched. To be honest, dead zone is not too important. Somewhere in the range of 0.05 to 0.15 is good. For sensitivity, which is essentially your look speed, I play slightly higher than the default at 6 on both the horizontal and vertical setting. This is about as high as you want to go. You'll see a lot of recommendations on YouTube to play on a high sensitivity. My recommendation is not to listen to them. I'll link another video at the top of the screen now which explains the reasoning in more detail. For the ADS multiplier at low zoom, I adjust it down to 0.9. ADS stands for aim down sights, and by having it at 0.9, it multiplies against my 6 sensitivity to give me an effective sensitivity of 5.4. Yes, thanks. So this lower adjusted sensitivity when aiming down sights helps, as it means I can stay on target with my weapons at long ranges, while keeping my look speed higher when I'm not aiming down sights. As most of the gunfights you'll engage with in Warzone are at those long ranges, it's crucial that your aim is steady and your sensitivity isn't too high. Controller vibration should be disabled. It goes without saying that's going to make it harder to hit shots if the controller is moving in your hands. I changed my weapon mounting to double tap ADS as a personal preference, and use reload behavior to contextual tap. This just speeds things up. The default setting makes you hold the button to actually open chests and doors. Depleted ammo weapon switch, I changed to disabled, and slide behavior to tap. No other changes to the rest of the settings, they're fine as is. Okay, so now we're nearly ready to drop in, but there's one more thing to do, and that's create a loadout. Head on over to the weapons tab and edit loadout. There you'll have 10 loadouts that you can customize depending on the context that you want to use them in. Note that in Warzone you don't start with these loadouts. As we mentioned previously, you drop in with only a pistol. But you can and should be aiming to acquire your loadout as quickly as possible in-game via loadout drops, which we'll get to a bit later. Let's set up a sample loadout. This is not a best-in-class setup video as the strengths of guns vary season by season, but I'm going to use the M4A1 as it's been consistently viable since the beginning of the game and is a good starter weapon for someone new. Other viable options at the time of this video are the Kilo, M13, Ram, and Growl. Once you've selected a gun, click on the gunsmith to customize it and add attachments and your perks. Now if you've just downloaded the game, you're not going to have a lot of these attachments unlocked, and will have to level the guns up to unlock them. Once you have them unlocked, you'll be able to customize your weapon. When you hover over an attachment, it will show the positive and potentially negative attributes of adding that attachment to the gun. You need to build the class relevant to your style of play. For instance, if we were going to use this M4 as a hybrid between a submachine gun and an assault rifle, we could put on the attachment no stock to increase our mobility. This is a whole topic in itself and will be covered in a later video in the series, along with which perks you should run in what situation. Great, we're now ready to drop, but where should we drop? For beginners, I would recommend consistently dropping at 2 spots, one on the middle to the south side of the map and one on the north side. This gives you the flexibility depending on where the plane goes to have a drop spot that you are comfortable with. Much of the early game is heavily RNG dependent, in other words random, and by knowing a drop spot's ins and outs, you can help negate this randomness and get further in the late game where you can use your skill to win. If you're wondering, my personal favourite drop spots are Hospital in the middle south and Quarry in the north. Once you've dropped, the goal is to always get an advantage on your opponent. The biggest advantage you can get is to get your loadout first, with customised guns and perks, where you can really begin to put pressure on your opponents and pick up their kills. You can buy a loadout for $10,000 from a buy station, which are designated on the map as a shopping cart. Alternatively, a free loadout will drop 12 seconds before the first circle closes, approximately 100 to 200 meters away from your location. Unlike real life, you can find money on the ground, or like real life, you can complete contracts to earn money. So that's it for part 1, the introduction to Warzone. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for part 2, where we go over early game strategies to help you get more kills and set you up for victory. Also, if you want to have a laugh, check out our other videos with the wider group chat crew. We generally do a mixture of memes, high quality gameplay, and all round good times. Subscribe to catch the vibe, and we'll see you in the next one.